everyone, my name is Devin and I run the CrafterWork program here at the library, and we've come up with a way to have CrafterWork at home. We're going to be learning how to make a Sushi Pom Pom bookmark today. If you don't want it as a bookmark, it's easy. You just take off the paper clip and then you just get a cute little Sushi Pom Pom that you can play with. The kits with all the supplies in it, you were able to pick up this week starting on Monday, and if you haven't yet, you have until Friday to pick them up. If you were unable to get a kit, these are pretty easy supplies that you're able to put together on your own, especially if you have a friend that has a lot of yarn. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we're going to take our piece of cardboard. I cut these myself, so if you need to trim around it a little bit so it's a little more even, go ahead. I tried to make them as even as possible, but you'll have the two pieces of cardboard and you're just going to line them up so the notch lines up with each other. And we're going to start with the orange yarn. You'll just need one strand of that. I'm going to take it and we're going to have it about right here on the template. If you just hold the orange yarn there and bring it through the notch and kind of cross over so it stays in place, and then you're just going to wrap that yarn until you wrap it all, and you don't want to leave any gaps here. You want to make sure it's kind of pressed all together, and you're just going to keep wrapping it around. And then this little tail end you'll just want to tuck under one of the wrapped pieces to keep the orange in place. And if you have a crochet hook, that might make it easier. I don't have one around though, so we're just going to pull it through very carefully. Okay, and so then we have the orange in place. Okay, next we're going to do the pink. So take one of the pieces of the pink yarn and grab the end, and it's going to go right next to the orange on the right hand side, and you're going to bring it around, make sure it crosses over each other there so it stays in place, and you're just going to wrap it right next to the orange. We did the orange about 5 times over here. You want to try to make it even, so we'll wrap it about 5 times over here. And then for the pink, we're going to double up, so on top of itself we're going to go ahead and wrap it on top so it's double layered. The pink is kind of like the fish, so it takes up a lot more of the sushi than, say, the carrots. And so we're just going to keep wrapping it. And you can, there's some extra here, so you can either keep wrapping it if you want a really fluffy pink piece, or you can cut it off and tuck it underneath. I'm just going to keep wrapping it, and then I'm going to tuck it in here. And that way we have the pink in place and it's double layered as opposed to the orange, which is just a single layer. So after the pink and the orange, we're going to take a strand of green and we're going to go over top of the orange with the green, kind of like how we did a double layer for the pink. We're just going to do a double layer but with green on top of orange. So you're just going to want to start there, wrap it around, and you kind of just want to make sure you cover the orange as best as you can. It's a little tough, but with some trimming at the end, it kind of hides the orange a little more on the sushi roll. So we're just going to tuck the end of the green in as well. Okay, so if you want to adjust it a little bit, you can do that and try to tuck the orange in. One of my orange straps kind of came out from underneath it, but I think it'll be okay. So then we have pink and orange and green on this side. So next we're going to want to take one of the white threads. This one's longer. So let me unravel this here. Just take one of those. Find the end. So for the white, we're gonna I'm gonna push these over just a little bit. There we go. So for the white, we're gonna start kind of over more than the orange section. We're gonna kind of want it to go over top of these in like a hill kind of shape. So you don't want any gaps between the white. So we're just going to do a single layer where there isn't yarn already. And then when we get to the orange and green, we're just gonna go right over top. We're gonna try to cover these colors as best as we can. But we're gonna go over it again, so if you don't get it on the first try, that's okay. And we're just gonna keep going over. And we're gonna go over the pink. And then we're just going to kind of go a little beyond the pink, just like we did with the other side, and wrap that. So here's our single layer of it. We're going to kind of try to do a double layer. What we want here in the middle though is maybe, it's going to be thicker right here. So we want to double layer this. But we're going to try to make sure we have all of this colored yarn covered as much as possible. And you can look on the back and see how you're doing. I'm not doing as great on the back covering the color, so kind of just want to check on both sides. Let's keep going to this side. I'm starting to get a little low on the yarn, so you just want to kind of make sure how your tail is doing. And if you see that you're running out, you might want to come over here real quick and do another layer on this side just to even things out a little more. So now we have both these colors all covered up. We're just going to tuck the white in so it stays in place. And there's your rice for your sushi. You'll still be able to see some of the color coming through because it's just white yarn, but it should be okay because it is just a little pom-pom. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the black. You may have noticed that the black yarn is very long. It's because this is what's going to really make it puffy. You want to try to have as much as the sides filled in as possible because you'll just get a little skinny thing if it's a little uneven. But you can see it goes all the way around. So we're just going to want to make sure all the black is together. So we're going to start about where the halfway point is for a half circle on this. We're going to start right there, and we're just going to wrap like crazy for the black. We're going to start with the single layer and then just keep going over it until we get a nice thick black yarn layer on it. And you'll want to make sure that you've got your white covered up as much as possible, but if you don't get it all in that first layer, don't worry, you're going to come back over it and you can get it the second time around. And then you're just gonna tuck the end of the black when you're finished. All right. So you should have a completely covered black ball of yarn on one side of your template here. And we've got just a little white peeking through, but that will be okay. So then we're just going to do the same thing, but on the other side. So if you just want to flip it right upside down, and we'll start the orange right here again. So we'll just take the orange, hold it there, cross over, do our single layer of orange on this side. Make sure they're all kind of tightly close together. Come around and tuck the edge in. Okay, we've got orange. We're going to do the pink. So just on the right of the orange again, we're going to start right up next to it. And the pink is a double layer, so you want it to be about as even as your orange, and then you're going to double over. Tuck that in. So we've got a double layer of pink and a single layer of orange. And then we're going to add the green on top of the orange. Just going to start right there. Try to cover the orange as much as possible. Just bring it around and tuck it. So we've got single layer of orange and a single layer of green over top and the double layer of pink. So then we're going to keep going with the white. I'm just going to kind of start around here. A good halfway point between the black and the green. And we're just going to do a single layer over top. Kind of try to cover all the color as much as possible. And we'll just tuck the end in there so it can stay in place. Okay, so then we've just got the last bit of black left to add on here. We're just going to start right where that black ended, and we're just going to move on over to the rest of the circle. So we're just going to start there, cross over so it stays in place. We're going to do our single layer first, and then we're going to go back over and make sure everything is nice and covered. Okay. Okay, so now we have a nice thick black layer all the way across. If you see a little bit of white, you can try to move it over here. Fix that a little bit. There you go. And now it's gonna become a pom-pom because we're gonna cut it apart. See, if you have a pair of nice sharp scissors, now it's gonna make it a little easier, or even smaller scissors can make it easier. I always wrap it a little too tight, so it's hard to get it started sometimes, or even just cut through completely. But the two pieces of cardboard, you're gonna separate a little bit. You're gonna put the scissors right in the middle of them, and you're just gonna start snipping it apart. You'll start to see a pom-pom kind of take shape. But as I said, I wrapped it pretty tight, so it's a little hard to cut through sometimes. So I'm just going to switch scissors. I don't think those ones are very sharp. Okay, so now you have what you can start to see as a sushi pom pom, but with a piece of cardboard in the middle. You want to keep that cardboard on, and you're going to take the string that has the paper clip on it. You're just going to go ahead and try to even that out. The paper clip, you're going to want it so when you tie it on here, you want the clip part facing down because that's what's going to hold your book page. You're kind of just going to separate these. You're just going to put it between the two pieces of cardboard and bring the yarn all the way around. You're just going to cross them like you're starting to tie a knot. Put that through there. You're going to pull. You still want it between the two pieces of cardboard. You're going to pull nice and tight. Then you can bring it back down around to this other side. And then you're just going to knot it off nice and tight so your pom-pom doesn't fall apart. So we just do that. I'm just going to do it one more time. Pull it nice and tight. Now you're able to remove your cardboard and see the beginnings of your sushi pom pom. You might have some spare yarn come up. That's usually the pieces that we started off with. And there's the beginnings of your sushi pom pom. So you can see it's a pretty shaggy shape. We're going to trim it out a lot. The more you trim it, the more defined the sushi kind of becomes. So this one I kind of did a midway point, and then this one I trimmed it nice and short, and you can see how much clearer that the sections kind of appear to be. Now with the trimming, it is very calming, for me at least, but it does take a while, and you think you're going to be done, and then you look at it and you just keep on going. So that's okay if you just put it down for a little while and maybe return to it, but you're just going to start kind of trimming it. If you kind of fluff it out a little bit, it'll make it a little bit easier to see what needs trimmed where. You might have some little pieces come off immediately from when we cut it. You'll just kind of fluff it out, and then you just kind of trim it up. If you wanted to, you could have the colored section be nice and flat, kind of like the sushi, and then have the black edges be rounder, kind of like the seaweed around the sushi. Or you could just do a spear. It's kind of up to you how you want your pom-pom to look. Okay, well you can kind of see how this is shaping up. There's the side that I've done a lot of trimming on compared to the side I haven't done any trimming on. So you're just going to keep on going until you get your finished product. So now that you've got your completed little sushi pom-pom, you can go ahead and fluff it out a little bit more, and then you can just stick it right in your book. Just keep your place. You'll have a nice little sushi for both sides. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you next time.